You got to have a 90-day roadmap that teaches them the tools, people, process, and the company. Then you got to get in the trenches with them so you understand what roadblocks you have to remove, and that earns you respect. So then after 90 days, if you have a team, then you can command some respect and do the right things for the company. All right. Hey, everybody. It is Dave Elsner, the tech sales coach, here for another episode of Sales Skills Workshop. With me today is Michael Cozzens. I know Michael from LinkedIn. We've been networking and engaging for about 3 years now. Mike posts some incredible stuff. I highly recommend that you take the time to follow him because you're going to get daily advice focused on growth, focused on business growth and sales growth. Michael, what are your thoughts on LinkedIn and the whole networking thing?
Well, it's an amazing thing. And Dave, I appreciate you putting this together. It's always great to get to spend some quality time, even if it's 15, 20 minutes with very advanced mindsets and collaborated. That's the wonderful thing about LinkedIn and some of these other social exchanges. It's just amazing to me when I go back to the years when I had to learn everything from books and sit in the sales bullpen and try to just study as much as I could. Because, a lot of the seasoned people that were doing what they were doing in the early 90s when I first got into sales, they didn't want to teach you very much. They just wanted to go sell. And the sales manager wanted you to make your numbers, and you couldn't come back to the office until you had your prospecting in. So to your question, LinkedIn and these other formats to me are just beyond useful, and they can change your life. And they can, you see one thing, one post, and you adjust your strategy to how you're approaching your day or your prospects or your CRM, however you're driving your business success. If you see one thing, and there's so much content that's readily available that it is just unbelievable. So I love LinkedIn. I like the fact that LinkedIn too, Dave, is it's now for me, I know I've seen some other things. I see a lot of professionalism there. I don't really see, and I try to stay away from anything that's not, but for the most part, I do really like its format. And I see a lot of people achieving a lot of success with it.
Yeah. I love the research and information that I get. Just like you said, we didn't have access to these things. It was us, our sales manager, maybe a mentor. But now you get influenced by so many people's thoughts, along with the networking itself. So well said. All right. Back on the topic of sales management. So when you first become a sales leader of a new team, what do you do in the first 90 days?
Yeah, that's a great question. Everybody, I've seen some really good ones, and I've seen some ones that probably weren't so good. I think some of the best sales manager engagement, I think the first 90 days is to really kind of, walk in that salesperson's shoes if you can. And I know a lot of sales managers just kind of expect the sales human capital to just get out there and go deliver. To answer that question, I think the first but really even beyond 90 days, I think the first 90 days is critical to make sure that the onboarding is correct. The people they're all set up correctly. I see this happen all the time where they don't have their computer set up, or they didn't get the software or the login rights to get on the VPN or to get on the CRM. Literally, I've had conversations with sales managers and salespeople, and during the process of a review, they don't even have credentials to log on, and this is just beyond my comprehension. So I think the first 90 days, you got to make sure the onboarding, put yourself in that sales professional's shoes, and make sure that you're really spending some time to make sure that they're onboarded correctly, that they really feel like, they've got their space in the business, whether that's a cubicle or they're virtual or they've got an office. Really make sure that they've got the pictures on the wall. So I think if you're going to spend X amount of time with your sales professionals, it's probably double the first 90 days, and then things can't get away from you. So if you do those types of things, and obviously run sales calls, I just did a post on this actually about a week or two ago, because I see a lot of sales managers that want to get these numbers, but they're not actually in the field, at least on 1 or 2 calls weekly with their team and teammates. And I think that is, when I look back at, hopefully I've had this effect with my salespeople, but when I was first getting more involved in sales, there was a sales manager, her name was Rhonda Fox, and she was a unbelievable sales person. Everything we went in, she closed. I would find the opportunities because that was my job as a young starting sales. But every time I brought Rhonda in, she went through the sales process. She presented. I got to get in there a little bit, but she really kind of showed me how you do these things. And of course, I don't know if I was ever as good as her. I ended up having some success along the way too, but she was incredible. So the first 90 days, I think it's onboarding. Spend more time than you traditionally would with your salespeople, one-on-one. Run some sales calls, run some prospecting calls, see them interact with the various aspects of the business, so that that people in the environment know that. It's a lot of times these salespeople need to understand, Dave, where they go to get what. And if they know where to go to get what, it certainly makes their job and their joining the company a lot more congruent. So first 90 days, I kind of do that. That's my process with a new team and new salespeople. Now, for me, when I've done this, if I assume a team the first 90 days, I don't get in there and start making changes. I generally just perceive and try to watch what people are doing, kind of get a flavor of where they. A lot of times, if you spend one-on-one time with, and then what I would do is I would meet with each sales member one-on-one for an hour, and I would let them just tell me how could I, as a sales manager, help them more. Not that somebody else didn't do that, but now this is my assignment. So the first 90 days that I'm reviewing with these people, I want to make sure I'm giving them, the mentorship or the development or just the support that they need. And so I think in just doing a review, and let me tell you something, a plan and review the first 90 days or the first 30 days that's a big laborious commitment, because some of those things can take hours because people have a lot to say, and there's a lot of clues. So that's what I would say. I'd say spend a lot more time with, really get to know people, and then before you start executing decisions, really kind of have that first 90 days in your bag.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. First of all, I agree. You got to have a 90-day roadmap that teaches them the tools, people, process, and the company. Then you got to get in the trenches with them so you understand what roadblocks you have to remove, and that earns you respect. So then after 90 days, if you have a team, then you can command some respect and do the right things for the company. So you mentioned the star salesperson. I was plagued by not being promoted to sales manager, and I was dying for it because I was the top salesperson on the team, and they were afraid they were going to lose those results. What they got was 5 times the results. And so I saw you post about this the other day. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's amazing. That is if we were in a karate or a kung fu movie, when you ask that question, you would kind of just walk out going, whoa. I mean, you would just walk out, because this question is like a double barrel shotgun. Here's my, here's the short of it. It depends, Dave. It depends. Now, I know a lot of business owners that just believe it's a natural fit, that if Dave or Michael were doing a great job, driving sales results, boom, put them right into sales management. Here we go. And I've seen that not work probably more times than I've seen it work. The reason why is because now you took somebody out of performing at the individual level and you popped them into performing at and some people don't do real well with that. Some do. So the long and short of it is, I think it depends. I don't think it's a shoe-in it really boils down to whether or not, in my opinion, you've got a performing sales or business executive that really wants to kind of come from an individual sort of production type of thing and really move more into, team and being more of a supportive role. And two examples that come to mind for me are there's two really, really great football coaches and I love college football, but the two that come to mind for me is Nick Saban for the University of Alabama. He's one of the, I think he's the winningest coach, and he played football, college football. And then also Kirby Smart, who's from one of my favorite teams, that's University of Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah.
So these are two that did it, and now they're able to move into, or were able to move into coaching and then replicate. And some of these people make great coaches and great mentors and leaders because they know what pain, they know what positivities, they know what these people are experiencing, so they can build programs around that. Some of the best, if you look at like the best basketball coaches right now in the NBA, for example, Doc Rivers, he was an NBA player, right? Jason Kidd, NBA player. So, it's not Steve Kerr from Golden State Warriors. So to me, it's almost unthinkable that you would put somebody in leadership who's never done what they're asking someone else to do. Not to mention, I don't know how your team would ever respect you.
Right.
To a level, let me say this, to a level that you need for them to believe in you. So for me, I think generally it can work, but I don't think it's just a shoe-in. I think you need to make sure that you really go through the checks and balances to make sure that it's gonna fit in your team.
Yeah, and in the case of Kirby Smart, he wasn't the best player,
right?
But in the case of Steve Kerr, he has 5 championships, and so there's two different examples. Yeah, I always looked at it as you promote the best salesperson if they try and get the team to do all the things they were doing and not realize the individualism, they have a hard time succeeding. Whereas if they become a part of the team and work together in a common cause, they're usually very successful.
Right.
And so, cool. All right.
Sales managers, for me, the good ones, they and this is really, and this is just my personal opinion, I personally believe they almost care equally, if not more, about their people's success as they do themselves. And I know that's hard to say or even believe, but truly some of the best sales managers and sales leaders or business leaders, when they promote whomever in the business to run at different levels, they truly do want that person to achieve.
So let me ask you this. It kind of reminded me of something. When you're rolling out a new strategy or go-to-market strategy, how do you get the sales teams to execute across the board?
Beautiful question. And I think the best answer to that is there's a Tom Cruise movie and it says, "Show me the money." So what I love about salespeople, and I love salespeople, but salespeople generally are motivated by, now there's some exceptions, obviously, but most of them, if you want them to execute, show them how they can make money. And if you show a salesperson and a sales team how they're going to make a defining, amount of money or something that's meaningful, they will charge through the doors with the pom-poms on and they will make it happen. I used to have sales meetings. I've had sales meetings before where I brought my entire sales team into the warehouse where I just bought, $1 million for the product. So we could have a meeting right there. And they would see all the product around me. So, but I think the bottom line, obviously you got to make sure that it's a defined, what is it that you're asking folks to do? It's got to be defined. So most great salespeople, if you tell them and you share with them and show them what the strategy is, they adopt it and they want to execute it. And the biggest way to make them want to execute it is show them how they make money. And the rest is history.
Yeah, I always say you got to believe to achieve. And I actually remember a failure in my career where We rolled out managed services, a strategy around it, rolled it out to the sales teams, showed them that 20% of their comp was going to be on managed services, but nobody believed in it. They didn't believe that what we built would be able to help their customers, and they thought it was going to be a disruptor. And so a valuable lesson for me as a sales VP is you got to start in the beginning and get them to believe first before you roll out that strategy, and then roadmap it so they understand what they need to do. So really, really good. Yeah. So last question for me is, when a sales manager's joining a sales call, what's their role? And, I'll just give you my quick take. I think if they're a rookie, you're a participant, but if they're a veteran, you're just listening. You have a pre-call plan and then you do some coaching afterwards. But what are your thoughts?
Wow. Well, I have had the pleasure of being in the field with some dynamite sales people and sales managers, and they are good. Generally, if I try to, if I'm doing it, I generally try to add value somehow to that sales call, and that's generally not me being quiet. It's also not me being the one that's the highlight. So I try to pick some level of subject that I can contribute, whether that would be, maybe I might take 10 seconds and go over the company's, short-term and long-term business objectives or whatever that the salesperson might not necessarily. I might review something like that, or I might even, which I've done, thousands of times. I might go off on a tangent and talk about how great Dave is, and you're really dealing with one of the best that we have in the business. His client retention rate is 96.3%. He is just one of the best we have. And then I get the customer saying, the customer's going like this. Oh, we totally agree with you. So because for me to go and sit and not contribute something in that capacity is probably not. Now, if I'm going with a younger or newer sales individual, generally in the sales cycle, you've got prospecting and, you've got your presentation and you got close and your follow-up, whatever aspect of the sales call we're in. I generally try to only participate in one or two of those. In other words, I want the sales person to own this call. Yes. So, but I will tell you, Dave, I will take one of those components, presentation or follow-up, might even be a little bit of closing. Not my favorite. I don't like doing that because that's one of my favorite things to do, but I don't like to. But I will take one of those components and at least show them how I do it so that they can at least say that Michael talks in the bullpen, but right. We also saw him in front of the customer. So those are some things I do.
Awesome. Well, this has been awesome. What a great conversation with lots of great advice. Michael, how can people reach you?
Listen, the best way to reach me is M Cozzens, and that's MCOZZENS at cuzzgroup.com. That's COZZGROUP.com. And you'll see me on LinkedIn, and anything you can do to like or comment helps get some exposure. And what it's all about right now is just trying to help people be successful. And that's kind of where things are right now for me. So I really get a kick out of that.
Yep. And that's exactly what you do. You add a lot of value to your network on LinkedIn. I appreciate it. I know your followers do, and I know mine will as well. So give Michael a follow if you get a chance. All right. Tech Sales Coach out, everybody. Thank you.